Well, I'll go ahead and call to order the meeting of the Lee County Board of County Commissioners. It is 9:31, and today is August 15th, 2023. Let's begin this morning with our invocation. I'd like to call Pastor Russ Hurst from First Assembly of God up to the podium. Good morning.
Great to be here. Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity, and let's just invite God's presence to help us today. Heavenly Father, we just come together and we just take this moment to pause and just to thank you for life and for liberty and just the ability to be able to live here in Southwest Florida and the freedoms that we have. God, your word says very clearly that if we ask for wisdom, you'll give us wisdom. And God, we thank you for our leadership. Thank you for this incredible place to live. Even myself, my church, we're all beneficiaries of it. And so, Lord, these men, Lord, this board, Lord, that is making decisions that make the difference in hundreds of thousands of people's lives, God, you've given them experience. You've given them knowledge. So today we ask for wisdom for the application of it. Lord, I pray that you would make the difficult easy and you'd make the stuff that just seems impossible, Lord, straightforward. Your word says that you will level mountains and make paths straight. So we invite you, Lord, and I pray a blessing upon them, and I also pray your peace, your shalom, your completeness, Lord, where everything is okay inside and out, God, and that they will know that you're helping them, and just for a unity of spirit, Lord. I pray for them, pray for their family, and for each person here. And for this entire county, God, where your word says that we're fearfully or reverently and wonderfully made, Lord, you care about each one. So we just pray for love, unity, and wisdom in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
God bless
Please
you.
join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right. Well, we'll begin this morning with a ceremonial presentation, and we have one this morning to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Edison Sailing Center. So I'd like to ask Mr. Webb and everyone else who's come from the Edison Sailing Center to please join us at the podium while I read this resolution into the record. And after I read the resolution, I'll invite you guys up to take a picture with us, and then we'll have a spokesperson say a few words about the organization. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. It is my honor to read this into the record, and it reads as follows. Whereas Royal Palm Sailing Club, Inc., Edison Sailing Center, was founded in August 1983 to provide a center to teach sailing to youth, and whereas the Edison Sailing Center is a national recognized community sailing program known for its emphasis on community outreach, youth development, and leadership training that has served youth of Lee County regardless of their ability to pay. And whereas the Edison Sailing Center has helped the establishment of 6 other sailing programs in the state of Florida while teaching more than 17,000 children locally. And whereas the pillars of respect, responsibility, and resilience are the foundational principles of the Sailing Center. And whereas over the past 40 years, the Edison Sailing Center's members have raced in many statewide regattas, as well as national and international events, and the center now maintains over 250 boats for instruction and racing, while hosting one of the largest regattas in the state each year in October. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Lee County, Florida proclaims August 15th as Edison Sailing Center Day in Lee County and encourages all citizens to pause and recognize the impact that sports like sailing can provide the youth in our communities and the important life skills they teach. It's signed this 15th day of August by me, the Chairman, Brian Hammond. Congratulations. Happy Edison Sailing Center Day. Come on forward and take a picture with us. I'm proud to present this to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your good work for our community.
After listening to all that, I'm tired.
Put the rose in there.
He is old. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. And 1, 2, and 3. And 1 more.
There you go. And if we could have a spokesperson say a few good words for us. Hey, Pete, good morning.
Commissioners, members of the Lee County Board of County Commissioners, and all of your agents and representatives, thank you so much for this tremendous honor. It has truly been a journey of love and passion to serve this community. Ross was born and raised here. His dad actually sold Fords for Galloway until he retired and was part of the Galloway family before it was even the Galloway family. So as we walked in through the courthouse this morning, there were a lot of wonderful memories in here. The Sailing Center will continue. We celebrated our 40th anniversary on Saturday in conjunction with Ross's 80th birthday. I don't know of too many other 80-year-olds who are still out in the community active and working at this level in 116-degree feel-like temperatures to try to get boats on the water and kids in boats. So that is our goal, that is our dream. It will continue to be that, and with your help, we will make this go another 40 years and beyond. So thank you all very much.
Well, congratulations again to everyone, and thank you for being here this morning and giving us an opportunity to participate. Well, at this time, we will take up the recap. It's when we talk about any additions or deletions to the agenda. We have a request from Commissioner Ruane to defer item A2, which was the consideration for a Hagerty task order for neighborhood plans. Commissioner Ruane has not joined us yet. I believe he's in the building, but Commissioners, we have a motion for that deferral from Commissioner Pendergrass, second from Commissioner Greenwell. Do we have anybody who's come to speak in public comment just on the deferral part of this item? Okay. Oh, no worries. We are just taking up deferring item A2 on the recap, Commissioner. All right, raise your hand, please, if you'd like to speak in public comment on the motion to defer. Okay, I see no public comment. Back to the board. Is there any discussion on this item? All right, I see no discussion. Oh, Commissioner Ruane, you're recognized.
Quickly, I just didn't think there was ample conversation, any real dialogue, any presentations. I thought it was grossly premature concerning the workshop today, and that's the reason why I asked for it to be deferred.
Excellent. Thanks, Commissioner. Very good. Any further discussion then, Commissioners? All right, seeing no further discussion, are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. All right, so that completes the recap. Moving on to our consent agenda. Commissioner Greenwell, do you have any items you'd like to pull for discussion?
I do not.
Commissioner Pendergrass?
I do not.
I have none. Commissioner Sandelli? Commissioner
I do not.
Ruane, none. Okay. At this time, does anybody wish to make public comment on any of the consent agenda items? I have one card for item 28, it looks like. That is Marcia Ellis. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. Marcia Ellis. I am speaking in regard to the waste proposed contract regarding the wastewater facility. I am not sure if this contract is a result of some of the conflict and the issues regarding Jacobs Engineering and some enmeshment with business in the region that's led to a switch of whom you are using for the services. I know that there has been hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars put into a project with an uncertain future. I'm really concerned about the limitations of ex parte communications regarding a project that is going through the processes of the government. As it moves forward, I think it's premature to bring these services forward as this project has been mired in a great deal of controversy. Thank you for the opportunity to put my public comments and bring my concerns about ex parte and conflict of interest forward.
Okay, excellent. Does anybody else wish to speak in public comment on any item that's on the consent agenda today? And that would be items 1 through 30. Okay, I see no further public comment, so we'll close public comment this time. Does somebody wish to make a motion to approve the balance?
Move that balance.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion for approval of the balance of the consent agenda items by Commissioner Pendergrass and a second is from Commissioner Ruane. Do we have any discussion at all? Okay, I see no discussion. Are there any objections? No objections, then that motion carries unanimously. All right, let's move to the administrative agenda, and at this time I'd like to recognize our county manager to introduce item number 1, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is to award a contract for solid waste and recycling collection for service areas 3 and 5, and I'd like to ask Mrs. Brady to present the item.
Good morning, Commissioners. This item is to approve an agreement to continue Waste Pro Florida's franchise agreement to collect all garbage, horticultural debris, bulk waste and recycling in areas 3 and 5. This is a 7-year contract with a renewal for 3 additional years for a total of 10. We have staff here available for questions if you have any.
All right, commissioners, do you have any questions? Mr. Whitehead, do you have a presentation you'd wish to make?
Just a slide, gentlemen.
Okay.
Is anyone here from the hauler, Waste Pro?
Yes, sir.
Could I ask them a few questions?
Sure. Yeah, we'd like to recognize a representative from Waste Pro, Mr. Jones. I see you.
Bill Jones, gentlemen.
Good morning, Bill Jones, Division Vice President for Waste Pro.
Good afternoon, or good morning, sorry. How are you doing staffing-wise, truck-wise, whatever? I obviously utilize your service in the Cape. I know you had a conflict with the Cape. There was a fairly large dispute and a resolution, which I'm happy to hear. I'm just wondering, are there any remnants as a result of that?
So the situation in Cape Coral was a sort of a historical issue that was recently resolved, so we're very pleased with that. In terms of staffing has really been very good lately. There's been kind of a softening in the employment market, I would say. A lot of the over-the-road truck drivers have decided to come back home. A lot of folks left after the pandemic. So we're staffed very well right now.
So the problems you had were more historical or basically from the past, and you've knew what those were. I live in the Cape and honestly experienced some of the issues that I certainly understood. So I was just trying to understand. It seems like it's better, but I was just curious.
Yeah, I think it's significantly better, Commissioner. A lot of the issues that we all lived through, not just in our industry, but really regionally and nationally, coming out of the pandemic, were shortages of employees, people not wanting to work, looking for the free money, looking for the quick buck, things like that. And I think the economy has cooled off in that sector. And so employment right now and staffing levels are almost at historic highs for us, to be perfectly honest. It's going really well.
I'm happy to hear that you're able to, obviously, growing pains are always tough in any organization, certainly where.
I appreciate you asking that question. It is better.
You know, and I'm happy that you've gone through them. I just really wanted to ask, and it seems to be just one. Obviously, it's a fairly large contract we're awarding, so just want to make sure the issues of the past are behind you. They seem like they are, but I just wanted for the record. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions for the representative from Waste Pro, Commissioners?
I have a
Commissioner
question.
Pendergrass?
Bill, obviously we're all, there's a society right now where we experience a lot of heat right now. How's your work staff doing with this heat? And I haven't had a chance to talk to your company or our staff about maybe how you adjusted in your hours because of the heat, because the men and women are out all day in this heat. Have you thought about maybe starting earlier or later, just adjust to get the employees out of the heat?
Yeah, that's a great question, Commissioner. So we have a very robust heat injury and illness prevention program that includes, providing electrolytes and water and different things to our employees, additional respirators, things like that. We have started conversations with county staff and with the city of Cape Coral on the possibility of having some sort of temporary waiver so that we could operate earlier in the day and try to work in the cooler hours. Not sure where that's all going to end up, because I know there are ordinances we have got to work through and things like that, but we are having those conversations.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the great service in our area. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further questions then? All right. Thank you, Mr. Jones. All right, very good. So Commissioners, at this time, would somebody like to make a motion on Administrative Agenda Item 1?
I move the item.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Pendergrass. Second from Commissioner Sandelli. Do we have anybody who's come to speak in public comment on Administrative Agenda Item 1, the solid waste and recycling collector services for service areas 3 and 5? Okay, I see no public comment, so back to the board. Any further discussion, Commissioners? Okay, I see no further discussion. Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. All right, please introduce item number 2, Mr. County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is to award a contract for owner's representative for Hurricane Ian repairs. The entity will be Anser Advisory, and I'd like to ask Mr. Gurgis to present this item.
And this is actually administrative number 3 because we deferred number 2. But yes, thank you for keeping me on task.
Good morning, Ehab Gergis Construction Management. Item number 3, and if you don't mind, I will present 4 and 5 as well, because they are 3 contracts for phase number 2 to repair all the damage in our Lee County facilities that sustained damage from Hurricane Ian. These three vendors will transfer all the assessment reports that was done for all these facilities to a construction documents. And before we go to the details about these three vendors and contracts, I would like to take a minute to explain the work that has been done in the past 10 months. The day after Hurricane Ian, we did a rapid inspection to all Lee County facilities to make sure they are safe, they have power, water, and internet for Lee County employees and the citizens to come back to these facilities. We were able to accomplish our goal in less than 6 weeks. However, some of these sites we had to close temporarily for safety. After that, we went back to the same sites. We did a more detailed inspection, and we wrote these inspection reports that will have details about the damage, where that damage, added pictures. We submit these reports to Haggerty and FEMA for review. Then FEMA went to these sites to inspect, to verify the damage, and sign off on these reports. These are the same reports we are talking about today to be converted to construction documents. With that said, item number 3 is to approve a contract with Answer Advisory in the amount of $1,459,410. And the green dots you see on the screen, these are the sites related to item number 3.
Okay, very good. Commissioners, are you looking for questions at this time, or do you have more to present?
We have item 4 and 5.
Okay, go ahead and please present those two then. And let me ask just real quick before you continue with your presentation, would we, Mr. County Attorney, be able to pass 3, 4, and 5 then all together in one motion?
Yes, sir. If the motion were to either approve in its totality or deny in its totality, you could take it under one motion.
Okay, thanks very much. All right, go ahead and please continue.
Item number 4 is to approve a contract with AECOM in the amount of $573,817. These are the red dots you see on the screen. And item number 5 is to approve a contract with Hill International in the amount of $662,495. And this is the map that shows all the sites on the screen for the 3 items. I would like also to mention with the guidance and direction from the county manager and senior team and the teamwork from all the Lee County departments, we were able to put a quick plan and be one step away from our final line and goal.
Very good. Commissioners, do you have any questions at this time? Commissioner Sin, no? Okay. One question I have, so the dots here represent county facilities then that have been damaged or were damaged during the hurricane. I know we were waiting on FEMA inspectors for a long time. Have all of them then been completed by FEMA inspections now, or the FEMA inspections have been completed?
Correct. That was the phase 1. So all these sites are, the reports are written, reviewed by Haggerty and FEMA, and they signed off on most of it.
So I remember during one part of the recovery, we were told that there were some sites we couldn't even touch until FEMA had inspected them, like, you know, maybe even making the site safer. We couldn't do it because we were risking reimbursement. Are we able to take whatever measures now to kind of remedy those situations and make the sites look and be safer?
Correct, and this is what we are working on now. So every board meeting, we will have some items to will bring more items for your approval. But these 3 contracts are the majority of these damaged sites.
Okay. I noticed there aren't any dots on like Fort Myers Beach, though. I know we have some county facilities that were damaged on Fort Myers Beach, like Lynn Hall Park and Bowditch Point. When will we see those taken care of and addressed?
Some of these sites that is completely damaged, they will come as a separate item. These sites are the ones that need, you know, flooring, drywall, some roofing work, or HVAC work. But the ones that completely destroyed or damaged will come as a separate line item.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. That answers my question then. Thanks very much. All right, Commissioners, does somebody wish to make a motion?
I'll move the items.
Okay, is that a motion to approve 3, 4, and 5?
Yes, all together.
Okay.
County
Second.
Attorney directed.
Okay, so motions from Commissioner Ruane and the seconds from Commissioner Pendergrass. Do we have anybody who's come to speak in public comment on items 3, 4, and 5 on the administrative agenda? All 3 items.
I did not sign up, but I would like to.
Okay, yeah, please come forward. And just when you get up to the podium, state your name for the record. That'd be great.
Fran Crone, Southwest Florida Lee County Fair Association. I don't have a question, I just have a comment. On items 3, 4, and 5, on each of them, it says that the list of locations being served by this vendor is attached as backup material. On the items, on each of them, there is no list of locations to be served. So my question is, the Whaley Hall on the property of the Lee Civic Center is just basically destroyed, and nothing has been addressed. So my question is this part of these locations?
Okay. We can ask that question. Thank you. And does that conclude your comments? It looks like it. Okay, good. Anybody else wishing to speak on items 3, 4, and 5? Okay, so we'll close public comment at this time. Back to the board. Commissioner Greenwell, did you want to ask the question?
Yeah, I would like to ask Mr. Hunter if, is that part of this list or no?
Mr. Gurgis, please respond.
Yeah, so Whaley Hall, yes, it is. It has a DI, damage inventory report. It is part of the rebuild, if we have to rebuild it. But this is, as I mentioned, some projects has to come as its own item because we don't know if this building is repairable at this point or not. So more investigation will be done for Whaley Hall, and we will determine the status of the building and if it's repairable or needs to be rebuilt.
Okay, very good. Any further questions, commissioners?
One question, is there a timeline for that, or we don't really, aren't able to narrow it down at this point?
At this point, we don't really know, yes.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, I see no further questions or discussion, so we'll move on to the vote. Are there any objections to the motion that's on the floor? Okay, I see no objections to the motion. That motion carries unanimously. All right, let's move to item number 6 on the administrative agenda. Mr. Harner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is to approve the piggyback purchase of sports lighting products, installation, and services. And I'd like to ask Mr. Young to present the item.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mac Young, Lee County Parks and Recreation. This item to approve piggyback purchases for sports lighting products, installation, and services for the Lee County Sports Complex softball fields and Brooks Park pickleball courts in the amount of $927,000. Due to the extensive hurricane damages for both sites, there's a need to escalate both projects. The impact of hurricane force winds and compounded the issues of the age and function of these lights.
Okay, any questions from Mr. Young, commissioners? Okay, I see no questions. Thank you, Mr. Young. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak in public comment on item 6 of the administrative agenda? This would be the sports lighting products, installation, and services. Okay, I see no public comment. Back to the board. Does somebody wish to make a motion?
Move the item.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Pendergrass. Second from Commissioner Sandelli. Any discussion, commissioners? I see no discussion. Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. Mr. Hunter, please introduce item number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is to approve the 6th ratification of emergency expenditures executed under Resolution 220931, and I'd like to ask Mr. Winton to present the item.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is a ratification of 3 emergency purchase orders. One is for temporary repairs at the Lee County Sports Complex for water intrusion due to Hurricane Ian. And then the other 2 are analysis of unmet needs for CDBG-DR and for the long-term recovery that is being administered by Catholic Charities. These are not to exceed amounts.
Okay, very good. Any questions, commissioners, on this? Okay, I see no questions. Does somebody wish to speak in public comment on item number 7, approval of the 6th ratification of emergency expenditures executed under Resolution 22-09-31? Okay, I see no public comment at this time. Back to the board. Does somebody wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Greenwell and the seconds from Commissioner Sandelli. Do we have any discussion on this item? Okay, I see no discussion. Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. All right, at this time, I will, that concludes our administrative agenda. I will recognize the county attorney's office for our public hearings agenda.
Good morning, Commissioners. Michael Jacob, Deputy County Attorney. I have your first of two of your three public hearings. I have reviewed the affidavits of publication for those two, and I'll enter those into the record now. The first public hearing is to approve a COPCN for the Pine Island Matlacha Fire District. Staff has, in conjunction with the County Attorney's Office, reviewed the petition and recommend approval of it. Staff's here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions at this time, Commissioners? All right, I see no questions. Then, has anyone come to speak in public comment on the 9:30 public hearing, item 1, the COPCN for Matlacha Pine Island Fire District? Okay, I see no comments. Back to the board.
I'll move the item, sir.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Ruane. Second from Commissioner Sandelli. Do we have any discussion? I see no discussion. Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. I'll recognize the County Attorney's Office to present item 2.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. This is a second public hearing to conduct a public hearing to adopt and certify 29 MSBU non-ad valorem special assessment roles. There's the list up there. If you like, I could read them to you. Staff is here to answer any questions you may have.
Very good. Commissioners, any questions on this item? Okay, I see no questions. Thank you, Mr. Jacob. Has anyone come to speak in public comment on item number 2 under our 9:30 public hearing agenda? This would be related to the MSBU non-ad valorem special assessment roles. Okay, I see no public comment. Back to the board. Motion for approval from Commissioner Pendergrass. Second from Commissioner Ruane. Any discussion? Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. And please present item number 3. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Swindle with the County Attorney's Office. I have your last public hearing this morning. This public hearing has been adequately advertised. This is a public hearing to adopt and certify our solid waste special assessments for the fiscal year 2024 and direct that those special assessments be placed on the Lee County tax bills in accordance with Florida statutes. If you have any questions about the specific rates, solid waste is here to answer those.
Good deal. Commissioners, any questions at this time? Okay, I see no questions. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to call for public comment on public hearing number 3, approving a resolution adopting the solid waste disposal and solid waste system assessment rates for fiscal year 24. Anybody come to speak in public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment. Back to the board. Does somebody wish to make a motion?
Move the item.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Pendergrass and second from Commissioner Greenwald. Do we have any discussion? Are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. And that concludes our public hearings agenda. Mr. Harner, we have no walk-ons and no carryovers today then?
Correct.
Okay. So at this time, we'll move to commissioner items. Commissioner Greenwald, do you have any items today?
I do. Thanks, Chairman. My go back in early February when the board appointed me to be the liaison with staff for the Civic Center was to get us to where we are today. We've completed our assessment of all 14 structures on site. We took planned yet immediate steps to be sure that it was safe for groups and regularly used for groups like the 4-H and the general public. These life safety repairs were completed as quickly as possible. Lee County has put about $100,000 into these repairs. Sorry, lost my place. We've continued our commitment to ensuring Lee County celebrates the 100th anniversary with the next year's fair. We also remain committed to the 4-H program. We're talking with the community. We've had shareholder meetings, social media activity, lots of visits to our website, great participation in our survey, and staff is ready for our upcoming public meeting. Our goal for this 100-acre site is to be sure it's an asset to the community that's accessible and meets the community's needs and desires. At this point, with the community involvement and the future board workshop to be held, we are on the path we need to be on. I'm going to recommend we eliminate the liaison role because it is no longer needed. The entire board can move this issue forward along with staff in the future.
All All right, very good. Thank you, Commissioner Greenwell. Commissioners, any comments or questions about that item? Okay, seeing none.
Mike, thanks for the work you've done to date.
I think we've accomplished a lot in a short period of time.
Appreciate all you did to help get the community around this, and absolutely. Let me ask a question to our county attorney's office. Is there any action that needs to be taken to acknowledge that, or?
Yes, sir. I believe the original appointment was by board motion, so just for the purposes of clarifying the record, if we could have a motion to recognize that Commissioner Greenwell is stepping down as liaison, that would perfect the public record.
Okay, very good. Would somebody like to make that motion? Motion from Commissioner Ruane. Second from Commissioner Sandelli. He beat you to it by a second. Do we have any further discussion on that? Do we have any public comment on this motion before we vote on it? I see no public comment. Are there any objections to the motion? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. Thanks again for your work on that, Commissioner.
I have a question on the whole topic. Dave, do we have a date set for the workshops, the future, the public meetings, and for the community involvement?
I'm going to ask Ms. Brady to answer that question.
Commissioners, the workshop for the public is scheduled for Thursday evening, this upcoming Thursday at North Fort Myers Recreation Center. And as soon as we complete that, we will come back to the board to set a date for your workshop to discuss the findings
Has it
from
been
the public
publicized to all the
surveys.
vendors and stuff? Because a lot of them's asked what was going on with the Civic Center. They're concerned about the future, where they're going to be going next year for shows and stuff. So has that information been publicly put out to all the vendors and everything?
I'm sorry, could you?
The information, that the workshop been put out to all the vendors and people that use the people have contracts for next year?
All of the information on the workshop has been publicized on our website, and it's been communicated to our 4-H partners. I'll verify with our staff that we've discussed it with our vendors. Our folks at Parks and Recreation have been calling and having ongoing conversations with anybody who has had scheduled events for the upcoming year. So we'll make sure that that's also included, that conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good deal. All right. Does that conclude your items, Commissioner Greenwell?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Pendergrass, any items?
No items.
Okay. I have no items today. Commissioner Sandelli, any items?
No, I do not.
No items today? Okay. Very good. All right. Then that concludes Commissioner items. Commissioner Greenwell, do you have any appointments to make today?
I do.
All right. Let's hear them.
Okay, I have a new appointment to Regnaldo Henderson to the Conservation Land Acquisition and Stewardship Committee. I also have a new appointment of Paul Benvey to the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee.
Okay. So we have a motion from Commissioner Greenwell.
Motion.
Second from Commissioner Pendergrass. Do we have any discussion on that? Do we have any objections to that? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Pendergrass.
Yes, I have two. I have a new appointment of Colin Manning to East Moloch Water Control District, and a reappointment of Jack Morris to Land Development Code.
All right.
Second.
Motions from Commissioner Pendergrass, seconds from Commissioner Ruane. Any discussion? Any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Sandelli.
I have one reappointment, Tracy Hayden, the Executive Regulatory Oversight Committee.
All right. We have a motion from Commissioner Ruane. Commissioner Sandelli, seconds from Commissioner Pendergrass. Any discussion? Any objection? No objection. That motion carries unanimously. And Commissioner Ruane.
I have two. One new appointment to the Conservation Land Acquisition Stewardship Committee, that's Joseph Cruz, and I have a reappointment to the District Health Planning Commission, Robert Johns.
Okay. So motion from Commissioner Ruane. Second from Commissioner Sandelli. Any discussion? Any objection? No objection. Motion carries unanimously. And I have one reappointment that I'll need a motion and a second on. I'd like to reappoint Amy Tebow to the Land Development Code Committee.
Move it.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Pendergrass, second from Commissioner Ruane. Any discussion? Any objection? No objection. Motion carries unanimously. All right, so that concludes our committee appointments. Mr. Harner, you're recognized for county manager items.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have two items today. The first is to discuss Hurricane Ian after action report, and I'd like to ask Mrs. Brady to present that item.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Today we are presenting to you the Lee County Hurricane Ian After Action Report, which is a review of the county's preparedness, response, and recovery efforts. With $112 billion in damages, Hurricane Ian is the third costliest hurricane to date to make landfall in the United States, behind Hurricane Katrina in 2005 and Hurricane Harvey in 2017. The after-action report focuses on countywide operations and does not cover department-specific operations. It focuses on broad policy-level issues or operational challenges encountered as a result of the impact on Hurricane Ian, and does not document department-level issues, adjustments, or improvements that have taken effect during or after the event. The report includes an executive summary, an overview of the storm with a timeline and by the numbers look at the response. Observations and recommendations in the report are intended to contribute to Lee County's preparedness and readiness for future storm events. We have published the after-action report on the Lee County website, and I appreciate your time this morning. We have staff here available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Ms. Brady at this time? No? I think we all got a chance to read the report as well. Thank you for furnishing that to us. Any further information at this time then?
Not at this time. Appreciate it.
Okay, very good. Mr. Harner, does that conclude the county manager items for today, or do you have one more?
I have one more item, Mr. Chair. We have discuss a letter to congressional delegation regarding disaster recovery, and I'd like to ask Mr. Salyer to present.
Thank you. Commissioners, President Biden's administration has requested some supplemental funding from Congress for a few different items, disaster recovery funding being one of those. So posing the question to the board if it would like to send under the chair's signature a letter to our congressional delegation, thanking them for everything they've done, expressing hope that congressional leadership will include Representative Donald's and Senator Scott's tax relief proposals for Ian victims in such a measure if funded, and just remember that there are a lot of unmet needs remaining in our community.
Okay. I would be glad to sign that letter, Commissioners. Would somebody like to make a motion to authorize me to sign that letter as outlined by our staff?
Move the item.
I'll second it.
Motion from Commissioner Pendergrass and second from Commissioner Ruane. Any discussion on that? Before we vote on the motion, does anybody wish to speak in public comment on that? Okay, we'll close public comment then. Back to the board. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, are there any objections? No objections. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, and then Commissioners, just one last note, since we're talking about the hurricane response, I did have an opportunity to represent all of you, the Board of County Commissioners, at the, it was a Congressional Oversight Committee hearing here at Lakes Regional Library. So we had 4 congressmen who came down and wanted to hear our story, led by our member, Byron Donalds. And we shared with them, you know, a compilation of feedback from our team who worked closely with all the federal agencies throughout the storm response. You know, both the things that went really well and the things that we thought could be improved. And the overall goal was to share good information that will hopefully improve America's response to the next disaster. So it went really well. Good. Thanks for the opportunity. All right, well, I think that concludes county manager items then.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
All right, we'll move to county attorney items. Mr. County Attorney?
Nothing further for the board's consideration, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Well, at this time, we'll go ahead and take public presentation of matters by citizens. This is your opportunity to talk about things that were not on today's agenda. Let's go ahead and have Miss Ellis, Marcia Ellis, followed by Fran Crone.
Give me just a moment. I need to get the document camera up, please. Thank you so much. Good. It's not up yet. Good morning, Marcia Ellis. Following up to agenda item 13 from the consent agenda last time regarding the noise ordinance. I'm just going to point out one more time the tables and the fact that pretty much that OSHA regs, which were used in the development of these recommendations, really don't apply here. That this proposed ordinance, as it reads, would permit discretion of an officer to choose whether they would use table A or B if there is a potential violation. I'm going to also let you know that in my neighborhood, that we have Brick Pavers Express, which currently is emitting at 84.5. So the officers in this scenario could choose to use either table A, which would be a reasonable noise violation, or they could opt for table B. When we take a look, we can see that the difference between 80 decibels and 90 decibels is pretty much a doubling of the noise. That this was crafted, the ordinance proposed in the language from it pretty much states that it is to avoid a potential regulatory taking of a business enterprise, not to protect the public health, safety, welfare, and comfortable enjoyment of life and property. This is from LIPA. This measures the distance to my neighbor's properties, where we have 3 children under the age of 2 and a 4th child who is sure to be born within the next month, as the mother is nearing 8 months pregnant. The science is clear. Environmental noise affects children. It affects babies, it affects adults. These effects include not just physiological effects, but effects to cognition, learning, language acquisition. Vulnerable groups throughout this community are in danger when we have inappropriate and incompatible land uses next to one another, like industry and residential, as we saw with the recent ethylene oxide issue. This can increase risk of heart problems as well as lower oxygen levels in the short term. This is particularly alarming to me as my neighbor, as I stated, is about 3,500 feet from this facility. It's clear that this ordinance needs our careful attention. And I want to raise awareness about the effect of noise pollution on our community. This is simply a canary in the coal mine.
Thank you very much for your comments today. Our next speaker is Fran Crone.
Thanks.
And I have no other cards, but if you wish to speak after Ms. Crone, just please stand by the back doors and I'll call you forward.
Good morning again. I'm here on a happy note this time. I'd just like to let you know that registration is open for the 2024 Southwest Florida and Lee County Fair. As of today, there are 198 days until we open. A little history for those who may think that a fair is just a carnival. It is not. A fair is a celebration of community, agriculture, and education. And the rides are brought in as a sidearm to bring interest, to get people into the shows. So just a little bit of history there. We are a district fair, so we welcome exhibitors from Charlotte, Collier, DeSoto, Glades, Hendry, and Lee County. Not just Lee County. We're not just a county fair. So throughout the throughout the 11 days, there are 23 various livestock and animal shows that are scheduled. So I ask that you check our schedule once it comes out and pick your favorite show. Last year, the Fair Board paid out almost $57,000 in awards and premiums and scholarships to our high school seniors to help further their education. We have a steer prospect show and a swine prospect show scheduled, one in September, one in December, that will help prepare our livestock kids for the fair. The fair is the show and tell part of 4-H. So just so we understand how that works. I would like to invite the constitutional officers and county itself to join us in the fair. And what we have in the Civic Center, we have display booths. And Sheriff Carmine Marcino, for the last several years, has put a booth in, and he has his community outreach people in there. And so it is a way to educate the public about the different services of the different constitutional officers. So also, I would ask you to mark your calendar for Thursday, February 29th at 4 o'clock, as we will have our ribbon cutting for the 100th annual fair. Again, as we celebrate community, agriculture, and education, and help us educate the community as to what we actually have to offer and what is here. What I have for you is a little bit of history and stats for us. We do a touch poll survey last year, so it has some of the statistics in here, tells a little bit about us. So I'd like to leave those for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Does anybody else wish to speak in public comment today? All right, at this time, we'll go ahead and close public comment, seeing no further hands. All right, so back to the agenda. We have completed our public presentation of matters by citizens, so it's time for the workshop update. Mr. Harner, please present the workshop update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At 1:30 today at Admin East, we will be presenting the Recovery Task Force update.
Okay, any questions, commissioners, on that item? And has anyone come to speak in public comment on the public workshop that we're going to have on the Long-Term Recovery Task Force, the LTRF, as it's lovingly referred to? No? All right, I see no comments then on our workshop. So with that, there's no further business before us, and we're adjourned.